guys, there's no place like the library for some fun crafts. Yeah, I know, corny. Anyway, we're here today to make a Christmas gnome. So inside your bag, you will find a sock. I was able to get this type of sock, this style, at Dollar Tree. 3 pairs for $1. So actually, if you're doing these for Christmas gifts, you could get 6 of them for 6 socks for $1. So it's a fairly inexpensive craft, a lot of fun for kids to do as well. So inside your bag, you have your sock. You'll have a rubber band, a wooden bead or button for a nose. You could get these at the Dollar Tree. They did have some, but they were a little small, so depends on what size you're looking for. You'll also have your string, your rice, your pattern for your hat, and then a piece of felt. So I went ahead and got started as far as tools go. I gathered all my tools together. I have a pair of scissors, a Sharpie or some kind of a pen or marker, and then I'm going to use a glue gun. If you have one, that's great. If not, you can use just regular Elmer's glue. It will just take a lot longer for it to dry. I went ahead and cut out my gnome pattern just on the dark Sharpie lines, and I went ahead and cut out the felt. I just laid it on the felt, traced around it with my Sharpie, and then cut it out. So I didn't think you needed to watch me cut, so I went ahead and did that. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with my rice. Now, in order to avoid having rice everywhere, you can do one of 2 things. Your rice is in a Ziploc bag, so you can put the bag inside the sock and then cut it and let the rice come out. I went ahead and put it in a cup. So I'm just going to take my sock and wrap it over the top of the cup, and then when I flip it over, all my rice will come out. You can get it to squish down some, and that way hopefully you don't end up with a lot of rice everywhere, because that's pretty messy. So anyway, I got my my rice in my sock. So I'm going to take my rubber band and tie off the sock. And I'm going to twist it and do it several times, because obviously we don't want the rice coming out of the sock. So hopefully you can get that around there several times to make a good tight fit. The other thing that I want to do, I'm not sure that you can see. I'm going to go ahead and pull the top of the sock down until you can see where it connects with the rubber band, and I'm just going to put some hot glue there. You can just use regular craft glue. Hot glue will dry pretty quickly, so that's why I chose to use that. That way it just gives extra protection to keep the rice from coming out. Be careful when you're using the glue gun, it does get really hot. Alright, so I got my little gnome, and I'm going to just cut off the top. I'm just going to cut off the top so he looks kind of like a stress ball. You can make him, if you don't want him so fat, you can make him with less rice. You can make him with a taller sock if you want to use, these are just crew socks. If you want to use the taller ones, you can, like a boot sock, you can do that. So there's a lot of options for this. So, alright, so next I'm going to go ahead and glue on my beard. Now you can get fur at Joann's, they have fur. It is fairly expensive, so I went to Dollar Tree and I bought a mop head, just a standard mop head in their cleaning section, and cut it apart. I was able to get six, enough for 6 gnomes. So if you buy the dollar socks with 3 for $1, you can do that, and then get the mop head. You'll have enough for 6 gnomes. And I'm going to go ahead and fold it in half, and I'm going to hot glue it on. Now it is going to try to hold this up. I have very good technology. So I'm going to go about halfway. It is going to stick out a little bit, and that's okay, but we won't worry about that for right now. So I'm going to go ahead and just about halfway up, I'm going to glue these in place. I gave you 10 pieces, so you can decide just how big or fluffy or wide you would like his beard to be. And I'm just going to keep going, folding these in half, hot gluing them on, and then we'll fluff it out in just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these in place. Now I'm just gluing right at the top. This part is still loose. If you want this to stay down, you can do that. It just won't be quite as fluffy. We're going to go ahead and pull these apart and make it a little fluffier, but just if you decide you don't like the way it lays on the table or it sticks out, you can glue that down better if you like. I was hoping not to burn myself, but obviously I did not succeed. If you want to use all 10 of the pieces, if you would like, you can save some. I think I'm just going to use 6. And you may decide once you put your hat on that you need a little bit more. And you can also, the Dollar Tree had several different styles of socks, patterns and things like that. They had the fuzzy ones, they had large boot socks, and the only ones that I would recommend not using are the ones that have the gripper at the bottom, this non-slip gripper at the bottom. Alright, so here's what he looks like so far. Looks a little weird, but we're going to fix him in a minute. So I'm going to go ahead, because I want his beard to be a little bit fluffier, and I'm just going to, I'm really bad at this technology business. I'm going to go ahead and untwist each of the braids. So it's going to look more like that. So let me untwist these braids, and we'll see just how fluffy it is. If we need to add more, we can do that. If you want it really, really fluffy like fur, but don't want to pay the price for the fur, because that's the way I am, if you want to do that, you can always untwist these braids, and then you can get a comb and kind of tease this out a little bit, and that would make it a lot fluffier as well, because this is just a cotton rope. Hopefully you are getting ready for the holidays and getting your gifts all purchased. I know this year's been a little crazy, so all of our classes have now gone virtual. And I'm just glad that we're actually back in the library and we're open so far. That's a good thing. And if you are thinking, you know, I don't like the way the beard looks on the top, that's okay. Once you put your hat on, you can bring it down and cover up that that bumpy edge So you can see, you can leave it like this, or you can make it a little fluffier. So you can see here how separating those pieces of yarn will make it just a little bit fluffier. And you may not want as much in the way of as many pieces, want to use as many pieces of the yarn once you get it all fluffed out. It does take a little bit though. Alright, so the beads that are in your bag for his nose, I was just leaving it plain, so it's just a flesh color. You could obviously paint it if you wanted to make yours different, that's fine. Some of them, I was able to find some that have a flat back to it. So these have just a flat, like a half circle, and I thought those would be great. They would fit easier. I just couldn't find enough, so some of you ended up with wooden beads. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this in place, and I'm just going to glue it right in the center, mostly over this, over the yarn that I put on, and you'll see it kind of sticks up just a little bit. So when I bring my hat down, it'll cover that area. And hot glue that in place. And then I think I'm going to take another piece and just kind of, no, I'm just going to leave it like that. So he ends up looking like this. Now he doesn't have eyes. If you want to put eyes on yours, that's fine. Most of them I have seen do not have eyes, but that's entirely up to you. Okay, now I'm going to take my hat, cut out my pattern already, cut out my piece of fabric, and I'm just going to hot glue the ends together. So I'm going to hot glue right along this one of the ends. So hopefully you can see this. So I'm going to hot glue right down here, and I'm going to bring this around and glue it so that it's staying in place and making more of a cone. Again, be very careful with the hot glue. I have a tendency to burn myself often, or get glue where I don't want it mostly. So let's just go ahead and piece it right along there. The one good thing about using the rice is that if your hat ends up too small or too big, you can flatten or move around his head or the rice that's in the bag so that you can get a better size, a better fit. Alright. So now I've glued this in place. You can see where my line is. You could also stitch this together if you didn't want to see this and you wanted more of a finished look. So I am going to set my hat on here and see how he fits. Now, if I just set it on there, this is what he looks like. So that's not going to work for me. So I'm going to go ahead, and it will, because of the fleece, it will stretch a little bit. And we'll try to get that on there and pull down more so that he looks like his hat is covering up his eyes. And you can see when I put the hat on, I've got fuzzies everywhere, but it kind of covers up that rough edge on top where the yarn is. And I'm just going to hot glue this in place. You don't have to go all the way around with the hot glue. It should hold in place with just a few tacks. And again, try not to burn yourself. I know I'm obsessed with not burning, but it hurts really bad. So. And then I'm gonna just give it a couple of glues on the back. And I apologize that I don't have the right direction on my camera for you to see. Try to hold it up the best I can. Alright, so there's my little guy. He's got a pretty tall hat. You could also, if you wanted, and you've maybe sewn it together instead, you can flip it over and put a little a pom-pom on the end, and he can have his hat dangle. Just leave it up straight, which I kind of like it up straight. Then I'm gonna go ahead and cut his beard, trim it up so that I just want it to sit on the table just a little bit and not stick out, because right now, let me move this and so you can see it. Right now it sticks out pretty far, and I don't want it to stick out that far. So I'm gonna go ahead and trim it up. And you can decide if you want his beard to go farther around the sock. You want more of it showing. Alright, so this is what I've ended up with. So there you go. Hope you guys have a great holiday. I'm gonna try to glue this on this wood a little bit better so it will stay. I just realized moving it around, it didn't want to stay. Hopefully you will get everything on your Christmas list this year. But we really appreciate your being here and joining us for the classes. And I hope you have a great holiday. There you go. Thanks, guys. See you later.